Hey, everybody that don't revive your local community. We are back, third podcast in a row. This is some sort of record. It beats New York, 10 days without a murder. We are on top of the world. I'm here with, again, the nicest guy in Battlefield, Lano. How's it going, buddy?
Hello, everybody. Thanks for tuning in.
And special guest this week, we've got Zach, the multiplayer producer for Hardline. How's it going, Zach?
Good. Thanks for having me on.
Not a problem.
Excited. Let's get into this.
We've been wanting to have you on for a while. We've got Sweet Zach trending on Twitter around the world. So
Sweet Jack.
we are looking
Sweet.
towards that. Yeah, right on. So yeah, Hardline, the beta was awesome. Everybody's saddened it's gone. There was a little bit of rumors you guys are going to extend it again, but unfortunately we know you guys have to get back to tweaking. How did it go for you guys?
It was amazing being able to play with, obviously, like out in the wild with actual players. We play the game every day, but we play with the same people every day over and over and over again. And we only get to play, an hour and a half a day because we got to get back to work. So being able to get on there and play all those hours with people was amazing. I will say there's a huge, like, we're depressed. We all have like post-beta depression. I mean, people are just walking around the office like bummed. If the team would have loved to just keep it up the whole time. Obviously, we got a lot of work to do. We can't do that, but people are definitely depressed that the beta's not up anymore. There's something missing in our lives right now.
Shit, I miss it. I want to play it myself.
For me, it's that MP5K. It's missing. So many multi-sprays.
Yeah, he fell in love with that. I don't know if he tried much else after that. He's like, I don't even have to aim. It just kills people.
Yeah, I fell in love with I fell in love with the K10 during the beta, which is funny. I never used it during all the time we were making the game and we were doing all our playtests. I never messed with the K10, and then during the beta, man, that thing just sprays hot death from close range. I fell in love with that gun.
I love it. Just a hip spray.
Yeah.
Quick death.
Yeah.
So, what's your I guess describe your position at Visceral. What does a multiplayer producer do on a given day?
Yeah, so my job sort of changes as the project goes forward. Kind of early on when we're in beginning design, my job is to help the designers out, review their designs, give feedback, give suggestions, just try to poke holes in what they're doing and kind of challenge them on all the stuff they're laying out there. And then as we sort of get into the production of the game where, we're getting people coming on and building assets and everything, my job becomes more about prioritizing, making sure that the right people are working on the right things in the right order. We get a lot of situations where, we have a guy working on something and he only has X amount of hours to work on something, and there's sort of a trade-off. Like, I can spend the time on this or I can spend the time on that. Those kind of things are usually my call. I work with the design team on all of that. Really, my main goal here is just to make sure that everybody making this game has everything that they could possibly need to do their job successfully. If that means I'm just here late ordering pizzas, then I'll be here late ordering pizzas, testing the game. Whatever needs to be done. Producers are the guys that are supposed to catch all the things that fall through the cracks, right? And just keep everybody sort of on the same page.
Keep the energy drinks flowing.
Yeah, and the other thing is
beer.
like, yeah, definitely there's a lot of beer. You have designers and they give you like a design, and then you have like hundreds of people working on the game. And, my job is to make sure that all those hundreds of people are making the same thing and it all works together and it's all to the design, because it's very easy for people to get sidetracked and kind of go off on random sort of tangents.
Team
work on little
coordinator.
personal projects. Yeah, king coordinator, I guess, sure. And then scheduling, and then as we sort of get close to ship, my job becomes more about getting out there and selling the game, interacting with the community, going to the shows and doing interviews with the media, doing stuff like this, anything to help the game, basically.
Well, sounds like a decent enough job.
It's to be perfectly honest, it's my dream job. I've been doing this for a long time, and I still sort of like pinch myself every morning. It's a dream job, and I got so lucky my journey through this industry to end up here.
If you can tell us a little bit, like, how did you end up to where you're at?
Yeah, it's not as long
producer.
or detailed as a story as most people, because I've been at EA the whole time. I graduated from high school in June of 2000, and I started at EA in August of 2000.
No way.
And I started in QA like a lot of people do, and I was perfectly happy being a QA guy. I love that job. There's often times when I miss it even now. there's something very satisfying about, working together with a group of QA guys and being there all night and pounding on a game and, breaking, this game and sort of having to report back to the engineers, neener, 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 I broke your game. So I spent a total of 6 years working in QA. Started just as like a tester on The World Is Not Enough for the PlayStation 1 and Nintendo 64. That was my first game I was a tester on. I eventually became a lead tester. I went over and worked at Maxis for a couple of years. I spent a couple of years being the lead tester on like sim stuff, which was really interesting because that's not really my type of game. And then after that happened, after Sims was done, there was a group of Maxis people that wanted to do something else that wasn't Sims or SimCity. And so EA built a team made up of Maxis people to go build the Simpsons game. And they asked me to come on and be an assistant producer. So that's how I got into production. The Simpsons game was my first production gig. And then from there, I've been here.
That's going from, what was the first game you said?
The first game was James Bond, The World Is Not Enough, PlayStation 1, Nintendo 64. Hi, Thad. You say hi, Thad. People love Thad.
What's up, Thad?
So that
How's it going, brother? So you go from that to Sims, and then it's just I guess
Yeah, I mean,
there's
there
no
was a
like
lot of
actual
stuff in
flow
between.
there, just wherever they need you.
There was a lot of stuff in between as a tester. It's wherever they need you, and you're only on a game for like 6 months, usually like the last 6 months. So I worked on like a Knockout Kings game. I worked on a couple other James Bond games for a while, like Everything or Nothing. I worked on this crazy online only game called Majestic, which was like super cutting edge for the time. It was like an EA.com game. It was one of those games that would like call you on the phone and IM with you. It was weird. It was like this experimental game.
Yeah, that would be a little weird. Like,
It was a very experimental game.
yeah.
And then in production, I've had a weird run. I worked on The Simpsons, and then I worked on Godfather 2. I was actually a multiplayer producer on Godfather 2. That was my first multiplayer production job. And now that was like, we took single player levels, mirrored them, it was like a really just kind of hacked together multiplayer.
Mhm.
And then that's when Visceral started, when the studio got rebranded and everything. And my first Visceral game was actually Dante's Inferno. And then I did the Dead Spaces and then ended up here. You know what I didn't mention either? I was assistant lead tester on Battlefield 2.
no,
It's probably
really?
a big deal, man.
Hey, that's a big deal. Yeah, that's cool.
That's cred. Yeah, that's
Yeah, so I worked on Battlefield 2, which that was my
You do
best
have
test.
some Battlefield cred then, so just for any
Yeah.
of the haters.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, a little bit. I got a little bit.
Right
So
on.
I've always wondered, like, when you do QA, like you play these games so often, when that game comes out, are you just done with it?
Sick of it. Yeah.
Usually, yeah.
Yeah.
I would say that like Battlefield 2 was an exception because it's interesting to see how people, there's so many people that play Battlefield and they play it differently.
Mhm.
So it's just interesting to see how the game changes. But other than that, in this game, I'll play a ton of. I was hooked on the beta. I couldn't get enough of it. I guess it's just the type of game. But most of the games that I work on, I'll play through once to beat it, just because I want to get the achievements of the games I worked on. I know that's probably a little weird, but like I want to unlock all my achievements for the games I worked on usually. But then I usually put it away.
Yeah, I can see that.
Probably playing it again and again in a broken state would just kind of wear out on your nerves. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, I understand
Yeah.
that you know the position and that's what you're trying to do, but to intentionally go out to break a game constantly, and that could be frustrating.
Even when I was a kid though, like before I worked in the industry, I used to love finding bugs. Like I would get a lot of satisfaction out of like breaking games or even finding dumb little stuff, and I would do it over and over and over again. I don't know why. I remember one time when I was in high school, I played it was right before I started working at EA. They came out with this game. It was like Andy McDonald skateboarding. It was like THQ or somebody, and it was not good. And I sent the meanest email, just like, you guys are trash. Like I don't know why. I just liked finding flaws in games that people made. It was a weird thing.
Chris would know more about it, but have you ever watched like Breaking Madden, where they just intentionally try to break the shit out of Madden? You need to link
No, I
that
watched
later.
a lot of
That's
that with
great.
Battlefield, though. They have the guys with videos.
Yeah.
I've never seen the Breaking
We'll
Bad.
have to link you some of that later.
You,
It's hilarious.
Yeah, you have to check that out. He intentionally breaks Madden and makes it so the game just basically stops working and gives up. So it's very entertaining.
It's a hobby, I guess, right? Some people just like pushing things to their limits and seeing what they can do.
Exactly. Yeah.
So you covered a broad scope for your job description. What out of all that, what part of that is favorite part? Like, what makes you really want to get up and go every day?
I think just like, well, it's like a corny answer, but I really like working with the team, you know, like I really, especially on this project, like I come in every day because like I don't have many friends outside of work. You know, I have a few like long-standing friends, you know, from way back, but most of my friends are at work, you know, like I come here to get my social, I'm here all the time, right? So this is where I
Hmm.
come to like, you know, it's a job, but it's like me and a bunch of my friends making a video game, you know, it's sweet. I don't know.
AKA picking on Fred Tuna.
I do like to pick on Fred Toon. Is he there? He sits right behind me. He's
Yeah,
just not there right now.
he's camera
I
shy. He
wonder.
took off.
Yeah.
Well, Tuna's pretty cool.
Yeah, he's a good dude. Yeah, you
Yeah.
guys. I assume this was a marked approach to being more open, but Visceral in general has been very open to feedback. How much has that really changed in the way of development? Like, are you guys really implementing the feedback and taking a look at things, as the community finds them?
Yeah, you know, first off, I have to say, like, it's new for me. On the other games that I worked on, that wasn't really the case. We didn't have a huge community to get feedback from. You know, Dead Space it's a AAA game, but it's somewhat niche. You know, it doesn't
Hmm.
sell, you know, tens of millions of copies, and you don't have like this vocal, passionate fan base on the message boards. So this was new for me. To be honest with you, early on in the dev process, I was a little wary of it. You know, I felt like that's a lot of voices. Usually, when you're making a video game or making anything that's like a creative thing, you need somebody that has a vision and you need to follow that vision. So I was
Yeah.
skeptical, and the honest truth is, it was Thad that turned that around. And I remember it. He came to me and he was like, "Hey, man, I think that like we need to be on Twitter, we need to be on the message boards, we need to be on Reddit." He's like, "There's good stuff out here," and he's been super tuned into it. And honestly, the rest of us kind of just followed his lead there. You know, he was the guy that was like, "We're gonna go out, we're gonna engage with the community, and we're gonna listen to them." And I'm super thankful for it. Honestly, it's made the game way better.
Hmm.
Absolutely. Like, and I think Lano's been able to play the game a bunch. So you've seen like the changes that we've made specifically based on the feedback, and
Yeah,
they're
way
tangible
before we were
changes.
allowed to talk about it. Yeah.
Right. And no one was allowed to talk about it, but it made the game better. And so, it's been awesome.
Yeah, even this Game Changers program is such a unique thing. It's something I keep saying, it's something I've always wanted to do with DRMB, is to get people involved in playing the game, like these super passionate people that are already doing the gun reviews and they're already looking at things like time to kill, and get them pre-playing games and just saying, hey, love this, don't like this, like let's work together. And that's awesome that that's working out. Can you kind of talk a little bit more, like what the Game Changers does? And I'm sure Lona will have tons of
Yeah, so
input as
that's a
well.
group of people that we bring in, and I believe the group changes. It's not always exactly the same people. It's various people. They're community members. They're people that play Battlefield. Some of them are very, visible to the community. We have guys like like Level Cap or Jack Frags. Those guys will
Jaffra.
come in, and they have huge followings, and they're very tuned into that. And then some of the guys are like, they're not those guys that are out there trying to stream or make videos or get Twitter followers. They're just hardcore Battlefield players, and we bring them in just because we want their opinion. I think the one thing that I've been reading on the internet about that program is that there's some people that they have this. It's sort of like conspiracy theories on the internet, is that, oh, we're bringing in these high profile YouTubers so that we can
Yeah.
sort of use them as free advertising, and we're paying them all this money to like lie about our game and say our game is good or whatever. And that's fine if people want to say that, but it is not the truth. Like I said, we bring in people that have no internet following, but they are hardcore Battlefield players that know their stuff. And we don't bring Jack Frags in because of his internet following. We bring Jack Frags in because he's a smart, articulate dude that knows Battlefield. Same thing goes for Level Cap. Same thing goes for Westy. All those other guys. They're all, and they all sort of have different areas of expertise when it comes to Battlefield too, right? Like we're not I mean, we're getting there now, but when we started this, we're not Battlefield experts. We're
Mhm.
fans of Battlefield, and it was important for us to engage with, the guys that had that expertise and knew what they were talking about.
Yeah, for sure. Well, that's why, when we got invited, Lona was gracious enough to go down, and just hearing, the feedback change from the first time he played it, there's, a little bug with, shooting through, I think it's shooting through a railing or something like that. And then every time he comes back, he's like, man, I can't say much, but it's playing really good. Like, you guys are going to be excited. And just to have that feedback where the game's constantly getting better and better and better.
Yeah, and they took us down roads that honestly we were scared to go down, like the whole moving the RPG and the small off of, deployable kits and moving to, that's something that we got from the Game Changers group. They felt like, hey, you can still have those explosive weapons, but you could change the way they work. And that's a terrifying thing to do when you're dealing with 20 million fans or whatever that Battlefield has, right? So like just having those guys have those ideas and then sort of like having faith in us, definitely helped our confidence a lot.
Well, to add to that, I remember like on one of those first visits, like you guys first tell us what we're gonna play. We all kind of like Hardline. Oh, we're thinking, I don't know. So we're all skeptical, and then look at Unitool back here, photo bombing back here.
He went to Australia recently. Brought himself back a kangaroo hat.
Yeah, yeah. Was he sleeping that? Yeah. And while we were out there, in the first play test, I don't remember who it was, but I remember like the first time an RPG's pulled out, and everyone's like, "What the hell are the police having RPGs for?" And just little things like that, and I remember a few problems I was having with like the grappling hook. And everyone's like,
"Oh yeah,
it's like you're the only one with the grappling hook." I'm like,
you guys made us.
This,
You basically made. He's not here, but you made this engineer that sits right next to me. We made him rebuild that thing from scratch. Basically, we're like, look, and that was based on your guys' feedback. We were like, it's all right. And then when you guys came in, we're like, okay, we have to retool that whole thing basically.
Yeah. And then making the zip line zippier. I remember he's like, I remember that tweet. He was like, all right, zip line is now zippier. Done.
Yep.
Like,
that was a thing that I actually did that myself.
Yeah, we needed that.
I went in there and tweaked that number. Yeah.
Because originally you could almost run at the same speed that the guy on the zip line was going. You're like, but there's all these visual effects. I'm like, but I'm still getting shot down, man. I need a zip,
Yeah.
So yeah.
Well, then for a while I had it tuned so fast that your momentum, you would be on that zip line and you shoot the wall or whatever, it would kill you. Your momentum would just kill you. You're flying down that thing. So we had to just balance it out.
Right on. I think you found a good balance. It does require a different speed. Like if you're shooting somebody from left to right, it does require a different speed to shoot them, and but it's not so fast. It just looks fake. Looks good. I think you did really good on that. So
thank you.
Yeah, it's a good addition to the game for sure.
With the beta being said and done now, and you guys are all crunching numbers and everything, like details, analytics, any kind of knowledge that you guys learned from that beta that you can share with us?
Yeah, I think so. I'm sure they're going to release like tons of like all the stats of this gun got used the most and this many people stole this many cars. I could talk about a few things. First off, we had like 7 million people grab the beta, which is more than we expected.
That's awesome.
It's huge. Just again, it's also just that's more people testing our game, and this was the final test before we go make all the final adjustments for release. So, it's great to have the passion and the fans and all that, but even more than that, it's great to like put our game to the test. A lot of this beta was about that. It was about putting this game to the test, about really, sort of pushing the servers and making sure that we could come out stable and stay online and all that stuff. I know that's a huge thing with this game. We have to come out and we have to be solid. And so, that's why we did the second beta. In addition to 7 million players, I think the other thing that we were super happy to see is that we had basically a 3-to-1 ratio of heist to conquest being started, meaning there were 3 times as many heist matches started as conquest matches or played as conquest matches.
Nice.
Which conquest we know is a great mode, and people are gonna play conquest. It's I was just talking about it with one of the guys today. It's a genius mode. It seems so simple, but that mode is a great mode. But for the beta, it was really important for us to sort of we wanted to show that hey, we're going to support that mode, but it was important for us to make sure that people were playing the other modes, so that's the modes that we need the most feedback on, right?
Right.
And so Hotwire, we had a 2-to-1 ratio, so we had twice as many Hotwire games started as Conquest games, which was also again awesome because Hotwire especially we needed to put that thing to the test and get people, really playing with the vehicle physics and pushing it basically.
Yeah, there's a lot of moving parts to Hotwire. Like a lot of things could be unbalanced and everything else.
Well, and we should talk about Hotwire a little bit. In a second, we should get deep into Hotwire a little bit because Hotwire has a really interesting development story, how it came to be. So we made some tuning changes that we got, sort of split feedback on. When we tune, especially when it's not like final game, we tend to sort of we want to oversteer a little bit because it's easier to correct from that than to try to like, oh, we're gonna make this little tiny tweak and then this little tiny tweak. We tend to try to make a big tweak to see if people notice and people get the reaction. So you guys saw we put out the notes. And the other thing is we just wanted to prove that we could patch successfully, right?
Mhm.
So we did a successful patch with some tuning. By no means is that the final tuning, but it certainly gave us more data points to look at as we get closer to March.
And a lot of false hope that the beta was going to stay on for a little longer.
I mean, we extended it to 1 day, and like I said, we would have been happy to just keep it on the whole time. At some point, there's the whole EA business of like we have to like make this game and release it and sell it.
Yeah.
Can't just keep giving out free demos forever. At some point, we gotta get the game out there. And then the other thing in addition to tuning is just we kind of moved some guns around, right? Like we put the UMP and the M416 on the criminals. M416 specifically to sort of balance out the M16 that was on the cops. It felt like both those guns are getting used a lot by cops, and they both sort of feel in the same wheelhouse. So we wanted them to sort of counteract each other. So we slid one over to the criminals. And then, we swapped, we played with some of the hacker tuning. Hacker was a hard thing to test here. So getting people out in the wild to test it and us seeing sort of the scoring exploits and some of that, we can see that and make those adjustments, right? We got all of a sudden millions of people giving us data on it. So,
Right.
What was kind of like a big surprise from Hardline? Did the community break anything you didn't expect?
I think Fred Tuna is back. Gonna work now or just taking a break, I guess. I'm sorry, what was the question?
There's Unitool back here.
What was the biggest surprise on the beta? Man,
Yeah.
okay. I guess my biggest surprise was I thought personally there was no way anyone was going to come close to hitting 150. I thought progression was going to take way longer. It's hard to gauge when you're like looking at the numbers here and you're only playing for like an hour or 2 hours every day. I really thought no one's going to hit 150. I thought someone was going to get up above 100, and then, I think a really happy surprise was how much people played Heist and how much people played Hotwire, our new modes, right? And just
I played the shit out of Heist.
Yeah, and that one was that one.
I think I got to rank 78.
How many hours?
32-ish, 30, 34 maybe.
So if you were in charge of tuning the progression, what would you do? We're thinking about doubling it. Would you double?
At least double. I think. I mean, the way you guys have boosts and stuff, I like that they're not just an overall XP boost.
Right.
At the same time, some people don't ever use those. They just don't remember. They don't care. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
They're just playing.
I forget.
Other people will use them as often as they possibly can. But for me, in my experience with Battlefield, and now that's kind of it's not such an important fact with ranking, but before you saw a colonel or a really high ranked guy, you knew there was no doubt that guy knew what he was doing. He was a great player, and because he's put in a shit ton of hours to be experienced to do so. Now you have a lot of the double XP events and these boosts and this. It's not so much so, but it is rewarding to rank up, but it kind of just washes out if it's I ranked up 3 times in one round, then I ranked up 2 times the next round, then I ranked up 3 more times. You know what I mean? There's not
unless that's like 1, 2, and 3, like the first couple levels.
And that's fine.
I want those first couple levels, but
in the very beginning, that did feel right. Like, okay, one round you go up to rank 5, 6, whatever. Next round 10, but it just never felt like it hit that wall of not to be grindy. Yeah. I don't want it to be grindy, but where you actually have to earn it.
Yeah, we've got to walk that fine line. I think the other thing that you saw there too is that we had Hotwire cranked up a little bit as far as the number of points you were scoring in the cars. Part of that is just to drive people to the mode, right? People find out, I can get more points this mode, and then they'll play that mode more, which gives us more data on that mode, which helps us out.
So that those points were higher than where you guys wanted to actually have them.
We're going to tune that down a little bit, and then we're going to just tune the overall progression stuff.
Right on. That sounds good because I did see like a lot of people going, oh, you need a lot of fast cash, just go to Hotwire mode, and they
Yeah,
were going in there
yeah.
grabbing a lot of cash.
And that's fine. I mean, that's what the beta's for, right?
Right. Yeah.
I like that people exposed that so quickly and exploited that so quickly because it's a good lesson for us to learn, right? Again, we're dealing with a whole new community, a whole new world with Battlefield, you know?
Yeah.
Besides the level, actually, like the experience for that progressing, is there going to be any changes within like the cost of stuff, gadgets, weaponry, stuff like that, or is that about where you guys wanted it for, say, 30,000 for X gun or
I think a
whatever?
lot of that stuff is going to stay close. I think Thad's going to play with a little bit of that. I know he's over there tweaking, but I think it's going to stay relatively close. Yeah.
Um, so what was the most used gun from the beta?
I'm pretty sure it
16?
was the M16. Yeah.
Who would have
Yeah, I would
guessed?
imagine.
Who would have guessed? I should have bet on Vegas on that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I
Who
mean,
would
it's a
have
really popular
guessed?
Battlefield gun, and man, we did just that little tuning to it, and like, yeah, so controversial. That's one of the hardest things with this game is you're gonna have so many people on both sides of every argument, you know.
Yeah.
We want the game to be balanced. That being said, like some weapons, especially in situations, some weapons are gonna be better than other weapons, and like anybody who wants to tell me that like the M16 is OP, okay, cool. I'll equip a K10. Meet me in a like a short, small area. Meet me in the bank vault with your M16. I'll come with my K10. Let me know how you feel. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. Well,
Every
and
gun
that's
has its situation.
yeah, and that's a big thing. Like we have to be careful not to, the loudest voice. The squeaky wheel doesn't get the grease. It's what you guys are seeing and balancing it based on that, not just everybody crying that one gun's overpowered and
And
nerf the
everyone plays the game
M16.
so differently. That's the other thing is like, I've spent so much time watching people's YouTube videos, and like it's crazy how the different styles that people bring to Battlefield. People just play it so differently.
Yeah, for sure.
That's what makes it fun, though.
Yeah, I agree.
What was I briefly spoke on this before, but what was kind of like your design theory for the whole weapon and class balance? Like it kind of looks like the classic Battlefield rock paper scissors thing. I really like the idea of switching the guns out, so you're not just using the same ones. Do you have a talk on that a
Yeah,
little bit?
yeah, I think, obviously rock, paper, scissors is super important. We want them all to be well balanced. I think certain classes, especially with the removal of heavy weapons, I mean, that affects, like we can talk about, our enforcer, right, which is, the class, he would have had the RPG. He's that guy.
Hmm.
And he had the LMGs, and, we made the LMGs battle pickups, so we had to replace those. And it's really changed the way that guy plays particularly because, you can be that like close quarters, front line enforcer. You've got a riot shield on your back. You're coming in there with the shotgun. You're just bringing the heavy firepower. But now you can also be that guy that's bringing a battle rifle. You're kind of behind that front line. You're resupplying your guys with ammo. You're able to sort of keep some of those snipers in check because you've got the battle rifle. It really changes that class. That class originally, I think Lana, when you first came out and played the game, he was like the upfront in your face class, and
Yeah.
now he's much more versatile. I think obviously the mechanic has seen some pretty significant changes, and
I love the change y'all did with them, moving the spawn beak professional to the mechanic.
yeah, that's a big
Huge,
one for me,
huge
man.
difference.
Like
Yeah.
and I for all the professionals out there, the recon guys, the snipers, because some of them have sort of been chirping at me on Twitter about that. I get it, but
You don't need your spawn beacon on the
when
crane.
you're placing your spawn beacon for you, basically, you're just making
Yeah.
it a place that you can spawn.
Exactly. Yeah.
The spawn beacon is a team gadget. It's about helping your team. It's about having your team get access to the front lines quicker, right? So like nothing worse than like spawning on one and not really noticing where it is. You just kind of spawn on one. You realize like, yeah, I'm up on some crane, 10 miles away from anything, right?
Yeah.
So
Exactly. Let me just place
that
a
was a
spawn beacon so I can come back to this exact
But
spot.
at the same time, we've given that class other things too. I think the decoy and honestly, just the way that class plays now with the sidearm, and I see a lot of people doing this where they use the sidearm almost as their primary.
Hmm.
They're like really in the thick of things, and they're on the front line, and they're setting laser trip mines up, and they're dropping decoys, and then ambushing guys,
I
and
was
they're
using
really
the
pulling
Tech
their
9
sniper
for
rifles
that.
out for when
Yeah.
they want to move from like objective to objective, right? Like
Yeah.
desert or sorry, Dust Bowl. That was, the dev name was Desert. Dust Bowl is a great example. Like you'd have recon guys going in, moving in on A, taking over the A point, just using like a Tech 9 or whatever, just wasting guys, and then pulling out their sniper rifles and starting to like, pick people off over at B while their frontline guys kind of move in. I really like the change to that class. He feels like not just a sniper anymore. He's not that lone wolf guy that just puts a spawn beacon up on a crane and never interacts with his team.
I'm just glad he doesn't have the spawn beacon.
Yeah.
I don't care what they do on the water tower. I just don't want him to have the spawn beacon.
Yep.
Well, aggressive recon is not a bad word.
No, not at all.
We had problems with it back in the BC2 days, but it's nice to see it coming back. I like to see people in the thick of it, not the ring around the outside of the map where the snipers live.
The worst
and
is the
when the game comes out, we'll
beacon in the base.
Yes.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, the other thing about that is we'll keep, tweaking and tuning all that stuff after the game comes out. That's a big thing for us to see how players react to everything, and then we'll, make the changes as we need to make them.
Yeah, well, that's good. And you guys are already making changes, right? When we talked to Thad, he kind of indicated like you've already got a big list of things you guys want to look at.
I'll tell you kind of a funny story. So the day after the beta, EA's like sent out, you saw like articles, they're tweeting out like 7 million, it was like a big success. People are kind of celebrating the beta, and we had people that weren't, either on multiplayer or on the team or whatever. There's other people that work at the studio. They're working on other, unannounced projects, and we work at a big campus where there's other people outside of Visceral that are just.
You can
EA.
leak whatever info you'd like, but go ahead.
So people come by, and it's like, a few people came by, and it's like, oh, congratulations. And we weren't hearing it. We're all digging through the data. We're like, what are you talking about, congratulations? We only have 6 weeks until this game comes out. Like we're immediately back to it, immediately just digging into all that stuff, because that stuff takes a long time to pour through. Every single Reddit post where people are writing up pages and pages of feedback, every single message board post, every single tweet, every single video. Like if you send me something, you send that something, we read and watch all of it. Even if I don't reply to you or I don't favorite your tweet or whatever, I promise I read everything. And that stuff takes a lot of time. And then it takes a lot of time to figure out what we're going to do about it once we start to notice the patterns and, that certain players want certain things.
Mm-hmm.
So we're pushing. There's no celebrating the beta. We're over it. Everybody's just heads down and back to it.
Champagne, calling early days, half day Fridays.
There was champagne. Someone brought champagne, and
good.
No one was really drinking it. We're just working. It's like, cool, thanks. Back to it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's refreshing to see that everything's coming together. I've been trying to push people to Battlelog forums instead of just complaining about it on Twitter, especially to your personal Twitter. Let's keep it on the Battlelog forums so you guys can go one place and kind of pick it up. But I mean, there's haters. There's haters every game, but it's been a pretty positive outlook. Going
honestly,
from
they're helpful too. Like everybody's feedback is important. Like even if it seems like it's just some people just spew at us. Like, well, you don't have tanks. This will never be a battlefield. Why are you making this? But to be honest, I want to hear that stuff too. Because I want the chance to prove those people wrong.
Mm-hmm. Well, we've came a long way from a Battlefield game about cops and robbers. Okay, that's sounds really bad. And then now it's all right. It's coming out in March. Everybody's pumped for it. So it's good.
Yeah, it's been a long, tough road. I mean, after we did that first beta or whatever, the feedback was pretty mixed, and that actually gave us a lot of confidence just to dive in, to do what we wanted to do and not worry so much about how much we were diverging from classic Battlefield, because we were towing that line for a while where we were like, oh, it has to be a Battlefield game, and we don't want to like lose those fans, and we're you're sort of questioning, you need confidence and just go after it yourself. And I think when we sort of had the mixed reaction to the first beta, that sort of was what inspired us to say, you know what, we're going to do what we want to do and just go for it, and we did.
Well, for me, I hear from the first beta, you hear a lot of people saying it's a Battlefield 4 skin, DLC, whatever. I hear, I wouldn't want to put a number on it, but a lot more positive feedback and reactions from this beta compared to the first. I mean, even myself, the very first time I got to play it, I was thinking, I don't know. I mean, the theme's a big change. Now I just don't know if the gameplay is going to be able to hold up. You know, especially somebody I've literally played almost all but maybe one Battlefield since the 1942 one. It was a big change, but at the same time, Bad Company was a big change. 2142 was a huge change. But now with this beta out, people, in which I'm really glad you guys did stick with the 3 maps, 3 modes. You give everybody a good opportunity to try the entire
Yeah.
the game as a whole and what it has to offer. So yeah, for me, I hear a lot more positivity now than before. You know, even people are like, "I'll never pre-order a game. I'll never buy a Battlefield. Battlefield 4 ruined it." Now people are going, "I think I'm going to get that," or "I've already bought it. I've already picked it up," or "I'm at least considering it." And you know, some of those people were absolutely zero chance in hell. And then you guys do the beta that has the 3 maps, the 3 modes, and a lot of that's changed. I mean, for me, I think it's a lot better than where it was. And nothing against DICE, but I tried to play Battlefield 4 after. What up, Duda? I tried to play Battlefield 4 after the Hardline beta ended, and I was just thinking, nope, I'm over it. That's one
Yeah,
UCAV. That's one UCAV too many.
I definitely am sort of happy to see that. I see that the tide is turning too with the feedback online. Now maybe
That
the negative
mustache is
people.
epic.
It
Sorry,
is so
pretty
it's
epic.
so good. I agree.
It's like
It's hard.
Magnum PI. What was his name back there?
Selleck.
Yeah, Tom Selleck. He's
Yep.
doing Tom Selleck.
Um,
Sorry. Continue. It's a little
yeah, I just
distracting.
think I have the same experience. The sort of my personal Twitter has been much more positive this time, and it feels like people are now saying, "Hey, you guys actually did do something good. You're making a good game," and now people want to help us more than hate on us, for lack of a better word. The stuff that we're getting now that's negative is like, "Hey, I'm gonna buy this game and play it, so please fix this issue or whatever," right? Which is a much better conversation than "Screw you, you don't have tanks." It's like, oh, okay, I don't know what to do with that.
Yeah. All right, let me patch that in.
And it's also weird, it's like I said, it's a fine line we're walking. It's a Battlefield game, and to me, Battlefield as a franchise is like no other shooter out there. It's almost its own genre. You don't have other shooters where you have all these vehicles and these big maps and just the way it plays. And so we're kind of making a different game within the Battlefield genre, a lighter, faster sort of experience. And it just took us a while to really find that identity and figure out how to, we knew we wanted to get there. It just took us a while to figure out how to get there.
Personally, I'm glad you guys stuck with it because I was skeptical myself. But now after playing the Hardline, damn it, when's launch? I want to play it. I'm ready to go.
March 17th. What is this? Like February? It's like a
Yeah,
month away.
February 12th. A little over a month.
It's a long wait.
Unless you guys want to flip the switch, we'll give us
I
beta
wish.
3.
I don't think it's that easy, man. Like there's a whole, when they do that, there's this whole like army of other people that like, we don't, the guys here work on the content, we don't deal with like servers and origin and all this stuff. So when we do a beta, it's a whole, there's like all of a sudden all these other people involved in the team. It's a seriously big operation, man. There's a lot of servers and all that stuff they're dealing with.
Hey, Netflix leaked House of Cards this morning. You guys can do it. I believe in you.
I saw that.
One question from chat, and it was something I'd ask you guys as well. Are we going to be able to rename our loadouts? Like loadout 1, 2, and 3? Can we name them like Hotwire loadout or Heist loadout? Like if there's particular modes when I went into, there was.
Yeah, no, that's a good idea. I know Thad was thinking about that and talking about that. I don't know where we're at on that. I think that's something he still wants to do though. Yeah, okay. It's one of those things that like it'd be awesome to do and great to have. And like right now we're doing like critical, like make sure that one's like probably what I'd call like tier 2, right? Tier 1 is like the crap we have to fix right now before the game comes out. And then we're going to get into sort of like the nice to have in a patch stuff. That's what we're going to do next.
Can you tell us about any tier 1 stuff?
I think it's mostly just the tuning, fixing. There were a number of crashes. We get data back on that, and that was the real point of the beta, is like crash this game. Figure out how to break this thing. So the top tier stuff is like just making sure everything runs rock solid. We just did a pretty big fix for basically I don't want to get into this subject too much, but basically netcode. We were seeing that like a lot of people were feeling like they'd already gotten around a corner and then the kill was registering. You know, they were getting like late hits registering. So we just checked in something for that to help that. So it's mainly like really significant gameplay stuff or, you know, crashes, stability stuff. The game was really stable, but some people did crash sometime. You know, it can always be more stable. So that's what we're going for.
For me, I had one, and
I didn't have any. I was lucky. I didn't have any.
I had one. I think it was on
I
the
don't know.
third round, but compare that, and I'm not trying to sound like I'm throwing dice under the bus, but I probably crashed 10 to 12 times in the Battlefield 4 beta. And that was with
Well,
only one map, one mode. And that's not talking against them. It's just, it did feel more stable to me. Not perfect, and which everyone's aware of that, but at the same time, it did feel like a much more enjoyable, complete experience.
I think one thing
What
for
that's
us is
worth.
that we're on the same engine, you know.
Yeah.
So in a weird way, they work for the same company. You know, we're all on the same team. We're all working on the same engine. But in a weird way, anything that game exposes helps us, right? Because they're doing fixes for that stuff. And so when they come out, if they have crashes or whatever, and they're getting fixes, we're gaining that knowledge and we're you know sort of getting those fixes at the same time. So as weird as it is to say, for Hardline, that was, I don't want to say a good thing because it's not, you know, of course as players you don't ever want that to happen, but there's like a silver lining, I guess, to that.
You were able to learn from it at least.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Right. Go ahead, Chris.
No, I was just the only bad thing I heard about crashes is apparently Hardline gave someone's Xbox One a virus. So you
I
should probably
don't
check
know. I
that
saw
out.
that too. Someone tweeted at me. That sounds sketchy to me. Like
Yeah.
I
That's
don't
a
want to like a
yeah.
virus from,
Uh,
you know, I would guess that like there's something else going on there. I'm
yeah.
not trying to make excuses, but that one seemed a little, especially like like on the Xbox, virus. All
Yeah.
right.
Sure.
Well, Santa Claus did come last year, and I have a feeling it has to do with the Battlefield Hardline beta. It's probably due to that.
Yeah.
No, maybe not.
We were discussing a little bit, you know, you guys are saying tier one. What are your thoughts on the time to kill in Hardline? Any changes you guys are looking at there?
It's something we're definitely looking at. I think, you know, it was sort of split. I don't think we're going to make any major sweeping changes. I think, you know, our game is a lighter, faster game. You're not dealing with the heavy armor and the big armored vehicles, and so it is going to be a little bit quicker. You know, our goal is to be somewhere closer to where how BF3 felt. We really like the time to kill in that. But we want to be our own thing, and if the community, you know, we're following the community's feedback as well. So if you know we're listening and we'll continue to tune and make adjustments. But I do think that, you know, our game time to kill is going to be a little bit faster than Battlefield 4, and that's okay. We're a lighter game, we're a faster game.
Yeah.
I guess the one thing about that, because a lot of people were getting on me on Twitter about that, and one of the primary arguments about that I want to talk about, and I'm not hating, but here it is. Some people were giving me the like, well, I have this guy that comes in behind me and starts shooting me, and I don't have time to turn around and kill him. I'm a more skilled player than this guy. He's some noob, and I'm a really skilled player, but he killed me. My answer to that is like, if you're getting flanked by some noob, you're not like that's skill too, you know? Like, honestly, like
I should be able to turn around while he's spraying me in the back and kill him.
you have to be like situationally aware, you know, and that be, you know, I don't want people instantly dying. I want people to feel like they can take cover and react and all that, but you have to be aware of your situation. Like if you're getting flanked from behind and you're upset that like, oh, that guy's only a rank 5 and he was able to kill me from behind at close range. It's like, well, how did you let him get behind you at close range? You know, like
Yeah.
you guys watch The Wire, the show The Wire?
Yeah.
I don't.
It reminds me of Omar.
That's
You know, it's Omar. It's totally Omar. Like
Omar Cohen.
he's going to war with all these badass dudes, but in the end, spoiler alert, he got by a noob, you know, because like wasn't ready and he got flanked basically, you know, and that's what happens sometimes.
That's funny. Well, people take it to heart, man. Like they're not allowed to die. And
Well,
what was that saying? Everybody who kills you is a noob, and everyone who's better than you has no life.
Or
Sure.
a hacker.
One of my favorite comments about Time to Kill was this. I love this comment. It feels great when I'm shooting someone, but when I'm getting shot, it just feels a little quick. Okay. And then the other thing that I saw, and this is anecdotal, this is on message boards on Twitter, but I saw the tide sort of turn as it went on longer. I think when you first jump in and you're playing tons of BF4, which has a longer time to kill, and then you first jump in, you're like, whoa, 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 this is different than what I'm used to. I'm gonna get on Twitter right now and complain about this. And then as you played over the course of the week, I saw a lot of people go, hey man, at first I didn't like it, but as I played more, I started to get used to it. Some people really liked the little tuning changes we did on the last day. Some people were like, "Oh, I don't like that at all." Like bring it back. The original tuning you had was perfect. So we're digging through all that data. We're digging through all that feedback, and we'll get it feeling really good.
Yeah, for sure. And this is why everybody's in this day and age. It's not a beta, it's a demo. But if we're seeing changes on the fly, like a last minute patch to PC and everything else, these are things that are making the community, making the game better. So it's
yeah.
I don't know if you'll be able to say anything, but will Hardline have CTE, or you don't know that yet, or?
Personally, I would love it. I don't know that yet.
Don't know. Fair enough.
Yeah, that would be good.
It would be awesome. It would be super helpful for us, especially, we've really embraced the community feedback. So I think, that would be something that would benefit us immensely.
How about some sort of Phantom initiative?
Phantom initiative. Well, first off.
Well, look at that.
Well, first off, these are not the kind of things that you really talk about. I will say, our lead MP designer, the guy who leads the design, Thad Sasser, the guy who directs us, he is a huge, huge fan of the Phantom program. He loves that. He eats it up.
Fair enough. Confirmed.
Other than that, I'm not really going to say anything. No. I am going to say, I will say, man, there were some clues in the beta that people, I don't know that people found or really said anything about. I'm excited when the full game comes out. See what
now everybody's gonna go back through their footage like, what the hell?
I'm sorry. Yeah, I know that was sort of my intention. I'm trolling people a little bit there. Yeah. Dig through your hundreds of hours of footage.
Yeah. Danny on PC's already on Reddit. I'm sure.
Confirmed.
Yeah. Confirmed. Done. Any kind of office pranks and shit you guys do just to break up the monotony of producing, engineering, designing a game?
We keep it pretty light with that. We're all pretty serious about making the game. So we don't do the whole, you'll see those things on the internet where somebody tinfoiled someone's desk or whatever. We don't do that kind of crap because we're not trying to slow anyone down.
Right. I've got work to do.
Right. Everyone's got work to do, and we are dead serious about this. We don't have days to waste on pranks. We definitely sort of, troll each other and tease each other a bit, especially during playtests. There's a healthy amount of shit talk going on the floor during the playtests. And, the worst prank we do is if you leave your computer unlocked, we will change your desktop background. And the rule is you have to leave it up for 3 days, no matter what it is. You're supposed to lock your computer around here. There's lots of important stuff on your computer and people aren't supposed to be able to get on your computer. So if you leave your computer unlocked, we're changing your desktop background. You have to leave it on. Other than that, we don't prank people too much. We especially nothing that's going to, slow down making this game.
Pornhub wallpaper.
Right. Yep.
I'm definitely
try not to make it something that's going to get someone fired, but
right, preferably, I'm sure.
Yeah. Or My Little Pony or funny photoshops of people.
Who was it? Somebody put one of Red Dragon's me as Jamiroquai earlier.
I saw that. Yeah,
that's hilarious. Now, so we all know you're a big fan of the Hotwire mode. That's your mode, aka
number one wheel man.
Yeah,
number one wheel man, baby.
So after that beta, did you go and look on the leaderboards? Did you see where you stacked up on the leaderboards?
Well, I didn't. The problem is I split my beta time. I played half on the PC. I got to level, I want to say 25 or 26 on the PC. Right. And then level 25 or 26 on the Xbox One as well. I played our first beta on the PS4, so I played this beta on the PC and the Xbox. I wanted to play on everything. I will say that my wheelman skills remain untouched. I went out there and handled business. That being said, I have to
wait a minute. Okay? I remember hashtag DRMB.
Yeah. So. here's a funny.
Yeah, let's change the subject.
So no, Lano carjacked me multiple times when we played. Just straight up walked up, gunned me down, and jacked my car right in my face. Nothing worse, by the way, than in Hotwire mode, watching your kill cam and it's the dude driving away in your car. It's like
Yeah.
the worst thing ever, right?
I did try to spray paint our emblem, our
Yep,
DRB logo
it's
on the
the
car.
emblem, right? My
Yeah.
favorite thing about that is it's like, we want to play we're going to play the beta tonight. Who wants to play with us, right? And like, it's not just you guys. This is literally anyone, right? We'll send out a tweet or whatever. Hey, who wants to play with us? People will spawn in the game and everybody wants to play with us, but no one wants to play with us.
It's
Yeah.
funny.
Everyone wants to kill us, which
Yeah.
I didn't expect. I was like, oh, everybody's going to want to be on number one Wheelman's team. Ride shotgun and
Right.
I can show you what this is all about. That turned out not to be the case. I was definitely sort of getting hunted out there, which was pretty funny. But I still maintain that I am the best driver. I'm not saying I'm the best at the mode. And Hotwire takes a lot. You can't just be like just a wheelman alone cannot win. You
No.
need a good guy in shotgun. You need a good guy out there hunting the other cars. You need a good guy handling the helicopter. You need lots of good guys. But I'm the best guy behind the driver's wheel.
Okay.
Untouchable.
Right.
Straight to the bank.
Untouchable.
Except by DRMB members, I guess.
Ah.
That's favoritism. Now this is favoritism.
It's also just, that's my favorite mode. I was talking about it earlier. We worked hard on that mode. We knew from day one we wanted to have this mode that had car chases and, that classic sort of cops and criminals vibe. We just didn't know how to get there. And we iterated on that mode. We threw away so many versions of that mode. It's really funny because after the beta came out, all these people are suggesting these like different versions. And we tried so many of them, So it was cool to see that like people sort of had the same thoughts. It's like, oh, you should try this, try that. I was like, actually, we did try and it sucks. And here's why. That mode was rough for a while. And it came very close. Like we were worried we weren't going to figure it out, and, I'm so glad we did because number one, I just love seeing, it's the mode that like you have the crazy moments and you have them all the time. You play around a Hotwire, you're going to have like 4 or 5 sort of like only in Battlefield. I hate to use the sort of marketing term, but you're gonna have those only in Battlefield moments in that mode, like just insane things happening. I also think it's going to be a huge draw for bringing in new Battlefield players. I think there's a lot of people out there that play Battlefield and they're really good at it, and it can be intimidating to sort of people that have never played a Battlefield or haven't played since 1942 or something like that. Just haven't played in a while and want to get back into it. And I think because of the way that mode works, the fact that you can drive and score points, the fact that you can spawn instantly on a Hotwire car and you're immediately in the action scoring points, helping your team, I think we're hopefully going to see new players come in, play that mode. That mode is going to start to teach them the mechanics and teach them the maps, and then they're going to start to transition into the other modes. And I'm excited for that because, anytime you can bring in a new audience is of course good. It gives you guys more people to shoot, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Jeff Braddock said he was going to take you on when the game launches.
Wheelman style?
Yeah, he said he's
Okay.
going to have to take you
All
on
right.
there for the number 1 Wheelman title.
Fine, man. I'm all about letting other people into I decided that number 1 Wheelman was going to be less of a title and more of a club. So like people were sending me after I was sort of tweeting about that. Oh, I'm number 1 Wheelman. People would send me like really cool clips of them doing just really cool stuff in the cars. And I just hit them back like, hey, you're a number 1 Wheelman too. Like that's number 1 Wheelman worthy. It's got the number 1 Wheelman stamp of approval. As a matter of fact, I've got an artist right now working on a number 1 Wheelman patch for
nice.
like our patches that hopefully we'll be able to patch into the game. I just didn't think of the whole number 1 Wheelman thing until we had already made those. But I just want to, the thing about the Wheelman is it's not the most glorified position. You're not getting kills. You're sacrificing your KD a lot of times because you're just sort of getting shot at. I want to encourage people, like, if you got the driving skills, bring it. I want to see. I want to see those wheelmen.
driving the tanker, running over people.
But for the record, Braddock, he can't drive like me. He can't drive like me. I'm whipping
shots
around
fired,
the corner
Braddock.
this way. I'm
Shots
whipping
fired.
around the corner that way. My guys are spawning in on me. I'm dodging. You guys are complaining about those breaching charges. I'm just dodging those things. Also, let me talk about the
Yeah, good. Thank you. Next
I have
question.
just a little pro tip. When you see a freaking enforcer standing in the middle of the road and he starts to run off the road as you're coming up, there might be a breaching charge there.
Uh,
You might want to slam that e-brake and flip a U. You have someone jump out of your car and handle that dude before you loop back around.
yeah.
Just a little thing. That's all. I saw a lot of people do that. They're like
There
trying to run over the enforcer. So he's gonna blow you up.
At the end, though, I did see quite a few people. I don't know if it was just because they were tired of Conquest on Dust Bowl or that they were trying to exploit Hotwire mode, but there did seem to be quite a few people that were playing it more like Conquest style, where they didn't care about the objectives. It was all about just killing the cars or ambushing the cars or whatever.
Yeah,
So,
I think it was a good way for people to rack up points. It was also, like you said, it was sort of at the end there. People, they'd only got one conquest map, so like, hey, I want to see, this downtown map. They hadn't seen it since the earlier beta we did, and I think that they just, got in there. You sort of started seeing at the end, like people just kind of getting in there, messing around more, and just doing sort of weird things. That's kind of why we're giving so many points to the people in the cars, even though we're tuning that down a little bit. We want to reward the objective heavily to encourage people to play those objectives. Of course, you need people out there hunting the cars. I mean, that's an important, position, is to be out there and blowing up those cars. But I think we'll see less of that when the full game comes out, because there's just so many maps and modes that people can play.
is there going to be, sorry, Chris, but is there going to be, it's one of the questions from chat, is there going to be any kind of variations in Hotwire? Like, I know you got the tanker truck, you got the cars, the muscle cars, whatnot, but is there ever a possibility that maybe one of the objective vehicles is a motorcycle or a helicopter or anything other than just an actual truck?
Yeah, it's
or
different.
van?
We have different setups and different maps, and I think, I'm not opposed to sort of doing like additional setups. Like you could sort of have like, oh, the all, sports car setup, and then you could also have the sort of like wilder vehicle setup. I think we're looking at all that stuff. That's all stuff that we can sort of patch in easily. So if the players want more of that, we can give them more of that for
That'd be
sure.
cool.
And that loadout does change map to map, like what vehicles are the Hotwire cars.
Nice.
Okay, so like
Cool.
water or air, maybe. And
Maybe.
maybe.
The
Interesting.
what is it? The drug boats for I've seen them show the boats,
Yeah.
possibly a motorcycle or two, maybe even a transport chopper in the air. It's an objective, Who
Yeah, the
knows?
choppers are tricky because you have those guys that can
chased.
basically just break the game when they're in the chopper. You have these guys that are just ridiculous. They're so good at the chopper. So the one thing about doing like a hot wire where it's all choppers, and I'm not saying we wouldn't, it's certainly something we would consider if the fans wanted it, is you're going to kind of limit the whole thing I was talking about bringing new people in, right? That was why we actually, for a long time, we had a lot of the sports cars, and we brought those vans in just because they can hold 5 people, and like, it's just more spots for new guys to get in. Here's the thing, if like you guys are in a car and you're like doing the objective and you're shooting, and I'm some newbie and I jump in your car, I'm going to really quickly sort of learn from you guys just by seeing what you're doing and how you're reacting to situations. I'm going to learn how to play the mode. So I'm not saying we wouldn't do it, but, as sort of that mode that's supposed to draw people in, we also want to keep it accessible.
I thought those vans, they caught me off guard a few times. Somebody'd spawn in the van, like the back door gets kicked open and he just starts to unload right in the car. You think you got them. And I did have a lot of fun with that mode, a lot more than I thought. President wants to know if we get a Segway DLC.
Full segue. Everybody gets segue.
Little segues. Can we? No, maybe.
I'm not gonna. I will say this: that's not the first time that's been mentioned.
No.
Paul Blart.
Hey, that sounds promising.
Yeah, Paul Blart.
Yeah.
We've took this fast mode and we've slowed it right down. It is now.
Yeah.
Running speed.
Fred Tuna mentioned you have a talent for music.
This is not true.
No, that's not why.
We all,
you can be
a few of us. I don't say we all. A few of us. It was Jay-Z, our lead level designer, started it. He got this app called Figure. Figure is like this 99-cent app that lets you make beats. And so for some reason, for just a week there, we all got obsessed with like making beats. And so like,
here's my mixtape.
We were making a lot of beats. So we'd come in every morning and be like, check out these beats. And we just start dropping beats on each other. It's like a really simple program. It basically makes the beats for you. You just sort of like push a few buttons and it loops it for you.
So any kind of improv live beat?
I'm not going to make a beat right now. I don't have any way to play it. Here's Fred.
That's Fred Tuna.
How am I going to play them a beat right now, dude? Like, all right, let me just. Load up this app. Jeez, man. I'll just load up the beat I made last night. I'm
Just
not gonna
send
blow up
fresh
the internet with
beats.
my beats.
You guys want to buy my mixtape? $10.
It's like, you know, terrible beats. Like, can you hear that?
Welcome to the DRMB podcast, Zach Zuchalon.
You guys want, if you need an official beat for the podcast, I can hook you up.
Just 5 seconds ago, you couldn't do that.
Yeah.
Now it's like, look, I got tracks I can loan you. You know.
Hey, like any DJ, once you get someone dancing, then all of a sudden you start feeling real confident. Like, oh,
Right. I got this.
This guy's dancing.
That does keep getting asked in the chat. Is there anything been done for explosive spam? Explosive spam for like Hotwire. I know that you guys nerfed the breaching charges a bit. If you want to be in detail on that, anything with RPGs, etc., etc.
Yeah, we're looking at doing some tuning changes. Nothing I can confirm yet. It's a problem we're definitely looking at, and we will tune to fix for sure. I don't have specifics. I'm sorry, I don't have specifics on it, but yes, we are aware of it and we're looking at it.
Do you have any more awesome beats? No, I'm just kidding. No. Keeping it serious at DRMB.
Yeah.
Well, it looks like we've already burned up our hour with you.
It's flying through. Oh wow, it's 6 already.
I had a really kind of the last question will kind of tie it all together. Really good friend of DRMB's, new team member, No Zoop for you, said he asked, "What's the hardest aspect of designing a good multiplayer experience? Like, what aspect do you personally value the most?"
Yeah, I think the hardest part about it, maybe not from like an individual perspective, but from a team perspective, is that like when designers will design something, it's an idea, you know, it's like just on paper or whatever, it's some kind of pitch. And I think the hardest thing is, you know, when you're the one personally designing something, you can kind of close your eyes and imagine what it looks like and you can see it. And one of the hardest things is getting like all 100 people or whatever it is that are going to be working on this thing to be able to close their eyes and imagine that same thing and see what you're talking about, you know. And we have all sorts of tricks to help us with this. You know, we do a lot of like little movie reels where we'll take like scenes from movies that we cut together just to sort of like, this is the vibe we want, this is the sort of feeling we're looking for. But to me, that's the hardest thing. It's just before you have any pixels on the screen, like once you're sort of building something, it's easy to iterate.
Mm-hmm.
It's easy to point at the thing on the screen and go, hey, you know, we have this and this is what we're trying to change. But when there's nothing and you're just starting from scratch, you know, getting everybody sort of on the same page, and, you know, it's a difficult process. I think, you know, designers, you know, are going to have like one thing they want and then other people are going to have other things they want. We're very lucky. We have a design team here that's, I mean, as the community should know by now, the design team here is super open to feedback. You know, our lead 2 designers are Thad and Jay-Z, our level designer, and those are both, they're humble dudes that they really truly care about making this game great, regardless of, you know, whether it was their idea or someone else's idea or, you know, whatever, right? And so I'd say it's getting sort of that initial thing going. Once you're kind of in it, then it's you know, it's not easy, but it's easy. It's every day we're going to come in here, we're going to look at it, we're going to iterate on it, but just sort of building out that first thing.
Yeah, that you know, I've always thought, you know, making a game from scratch, especially one that, you know, is of a different mold. People always compare it to like making a movie. You know, you have this vision and you have all these people who are excellent at their jobs. It's getting all that together and you know, making the vision true to life.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the only problem with making games is you've got 2 million people telling you how to do it.
Well, yeah, in this case, it's more than 2 million people, right? Battlefield is actually way more. So even in like the other games I've worked on, which, like I said, are sort of, you know, niche games like the Dead Space, you know, it's like a horror. You know, not everybody's into horror. It's, you know, it's less feedback to dig through and less people to sort of make happy, which is a little bit easier. But there's a give and a take there, because as hard as it is to make that many people happy, some of the best ideas in this game came from the community and those people. Some of the things that make Hardline what it is are not our ideas. They're ideas that we took from the community or that we took from the game changers.
Yeah. Good.
So,
just straight ripped it off.
Yeah, I mean, look, if you're gonna give
us
us an idea, I'm taking it. No shame.
No shame.
If it makes it better, why not?
Exactly.
I mean, we got, like I said, we have our eye on the prize. We want to make the best game we can, and to do that, you need to just sort of humble yourselves and be open to feedback.
Hmm.
Which is a lot harder than it sounds.
You guys have, well, I don't know how. I've seen some of your guys' Twitter feeds, and some of the shit that people say to you guys are just like, really? But
Yeah.
you guys really do, and you really have taken it in stride better than I could have. You know, there've probably been times I'm like, you've honestly not thought this through, but you guys have been really open and receptive to a lot of that feedback and replied even graciously to some of the more obnoxious
Well, and
parts of feedback.
one of my favorite things now about Twitter, now that the game's out there and people have got to play it, they have something they're talking about. It was rougher when people are giving you feedback on something they haven't played yet, because you're like, oh, just wait till you play. You're gonna see it is good. You know, you just can't wait to show people.
Yeah.
But you know, now that people have played it, I find it funny because I'll get a tweet. I have a great example today where one guy tweeted me. He's like, hey man, like, you know, RPGs in your game is stupid. Like, take them out. Why would you ever have RPGs? And I was like starting to reply to him, and then I saw bloop, like 4 notifications. I hit my notifications, like it's other people replying to him, and it's like the next guy is like, "No, man, RPGs are great. They moved them on to battle pickups. You know, you just got to get them in your trunk, yada yada yada." So like all of a sudden now that people are sort of informed and they have, you know, something that they played the game, so they have something to base their opinion on. I'm starting to like, some people are sort of picking up some of my fights for me on Twitter, which is,
Hmm.
that's cool. You know, it always
Yeah.
feels good when people are, you know, on there, you know, encouraging us and defending us and all that. So
Yeah. Exactly. Discussion's a good thing. You know.
yeah, no, and
No
it's
right or
always,
wrong answer
always
most of
welcome.
the time.
Especially not when you have like a 20 million player base, and that's why we
Yeah.
have different modes too, right? That's why you have so many different modes and map styles. And you know, like the other thing that I got a ton of feedback on was like, oh, you know, I played a bunch of heist and bank and it was great, but where's the destruction? You know, but they haven't seen our maps that have, you know, more destruction. It's a different style of map. You know, like you're trading off certain strategic elements when you allow people to just sort of level everything, right? And so sometimes you want to sort of funnel players in certain areas and sort of control routes. And if you're letting people just sort of lay waste to everything, then you can't do that. But in other cases, there's maps where we want it to be more, you know, we want to allow players to open up routes, and we know where we want to open up those routes. So I think, you know, we just sort of have different style. I didn't realize it till the beta came out, but those are probably our least destructive maps. You know, like, and even that being said, you know, like people were talking about bank and heist and the destruction, and it's like, okay, but take Battlefield out of the conversation, right? Stop comparing it to like every other Battlefield game and just talk about every other multiplayer shooter. All right, we have tons of destruction compared to, you know, most. It's just that
Yeah.
you're comparing us to like a bad company or whatever, and we
Mhm.
certainly aspire to some of that stuff, and in some of our maps we do that. It's just that we're trying to support the different gameplay styles, and not everybody likes that. I understand that a lot of people do, but not everybody does. You know, like people have their opinions, and you know, we want to satisfy as many of those different play styles as we can.
I think Shanghai gets ruined when the tower comes down. I mean, as an example, it really does change like how that map's played.
Right. And
Mhm.
here's the crazy thing. There's people out there on the internet that would think you're crazy. How could you
Oh yeah.
say that? You're
Oh yeah.
crazy. Right. It's just that everybody, you know, and that's awesome. That's what's awesome about Battlefield, is that people are so passionate. And anytime I get frustrated by like, you know, the feedback that like sometimes people are picking on me or just hammering with the same thing, I have to remember that like they're just really passionate about this. They care. It's so much better working on something that somebody cares about, you know? Like it's super motivating every day.
It's
Good.
good. It's good to
Good.
hear.
I'm happy you guys are. You seem relaxed yet focused. I guess I'd say. You know, it's.
Yeah, I think the beta really took a lot of pressure off, as far as from just the standpoint of, like I was saying, that all the other things come online that we don't necessarily control. And so like having the servers go up and, you know, just proving that we could like support 7 million, that's a lot of people, you know, all over the world. Proving that we could support that is a nice thing, because it's not necessarily the guys that I sit with here. We make content, and it's not necessarily in our control. And so like that has, you know, that's you're scared of things that aren't in your control. So that was a big relief. And I think we're just getting closer and we're feeling good about it. We feel like we hit a sweet spot. We found a way to make a Battlefield game that's a whole new flavor and it's different, but it is still worthy of the Battlefield title, and it is a Battlefield game. When you play it, if we had called this game Hardline without Battlefield, it's so obviously a
Why are you
Battlefield game.
copying their game so much?
Right. It would. That's immediately people are like, this should have been called Battlefield. It's just another Battlefield. You just named it differently, and so,
Can't make everybody happy.
we found our little niche. We found our sweet spot in the Battlefield universe, and the players reacted positively. Like players could have come out and said, we don't like the speed, we don't like all these things, and that I'd probably be a lot more stressed out right now if that was the case. But we know that players are responding to the style of game that we're going to make. So
Good.
and you know what, I'll be perfectly honest with you guys. Early on, there were times when I thought Thad was crazy. I was like, what is
You
this
see
dude
how he
talking
looked? He's
about?
like, there were times.
I looked over there. It's like,
He's like, there were times.
and like I was wrong. Like there was a lot of stuff early on. I was wrong. That dude was right, and he had a vision, and he knew what he wanted. And it took some of us a while to come around and follow that dude's lead. But once we did, we found our spot, and we're really happy with the way the game feels and plays.
Good. Well, we are pumped for March 17th.
I just want to go sleep for a month.
Yeah.
No, you got everybody wanting to do #1 Wheelman challenge, man.
That's what I'm saying. I just want to go to sleep until we get to March 17th so I can get behind that wheel.
No sleep for you.
Shut all these internet haters up with my driving skills. Running people over.
All right, just let me get the tanker, park it in the middle of the road, and I'll wait. I do like that tanker explosion as often as it killed me myself.
Yeah.
I saw one guy like, why does that cause so much damage? I was like, what, being a fuel tanker?
It's a fuel tanker, that's why.
Yeah, maybe.
It's fun, like some people are like, why would I take that thing? It's so much more risky on other vehicles. But the thing about the tanker is that's the vehicle that can swing the match. If you've got one van and one sports car and the other team has one van and one sports car, you're bleeding tickets evenly. And like someone's got to have the balls to get in that tanker, like get in that tanker and swing that match,
Right.
You should make it so you can drop the trailer so people chasing behind you. You just drop it back.
I like that.
I do like that's a good idea. There was a time I was playing with President, and I was spawned on him. He happened to be in the tanker. I'm hanging out the window. Got these guys behind him, and where you're in the tanker, you can't spin all the way back to hit on the left side of the truck. So like, I'm gonna throw a grenade over here and hit this car. It didn't go over. It just bounced and stuck around into the tanker, exploded. I was like, I'm just gonna go ahead and leave. All that for.
I've had some rough.
Sorry, I
rough
feel like a
rides
dumbass. Yeah.
The worst is like when you're on the spawn screen and you're like, all right, I want to get right back in action. I'm gonna spawn on like a Hotwire car, and you don't remember like which one of the tanker was. You just spawn on it, and it's like on fire. Just you immediately like, it's just like, why did I jump into this vehicle right now?
Because it's hard to run away from it too when it blows. Because what is it, like double the damage radius?
Oh yeah, it's big. But that's part of the strategy of Hotwire. Which I'm sorry, now I'm going long, but someone tweeted at me, Hotwire is just destruction derby. There's no strategy to Hotwire. BS. There's strategy to Hotwire. Figure it out.
Yeah,
There's a ton of strategy.
I found a lot.
Is it also zany, crazy destruction derby? Yep, absolutely. But there's definitely strategy there, and don't dismiss that mode. It's a great mode. Even if you're just warming up. If you want to play Conquest, warm up. One round of Hotwire gets you in the flow.
Yep.
Well, someone wanted to know from chat: is it possible that more songs will be added, and or will custom songs be able to be used?
It's definitely possible. We're looking into that. I think the radio feature, people are digging it. We didn't know if people were going to really dig it or not. So it's definitely possible. It's something we're going to look into. I can't say we're definitely going to do it or not. The custom playlist thing is interesting. I think I got a cough. I think if we did something like that, where like if you're playing on the computer, it can just sort of access like a certain folder and play your songs. I think that you would only be able to hear that on your client. Because those songs, like those other people don't have those songs. So how we play for them, we definitely don't want to send songs through the server because gameplay, right? Like gameplay is king. Any data we're sending through the server, just slows down that communication. If it's not related to gameplay, we don't want to do it.
Right.
So there may be, a way that we could have you play your custom songs, but it'd be just for you. And part of the cool thing about the radio is the other dude's getting in and like hearing the same song you're hearing, right? Like for me personally, like when I get in a Hotwire car, I always switch to the Clash song. I dig that song, and my goal is always like I need to hold this car for as long as this song, bare minimum. I need to ride out
Right.
Wow.
There's a strategy on its own.
That was Paul
I
Fun,
also
run
like
the jewels.
and I would get in the other one that I loved was I would get in with like just random people on Xbox, and they just have the squad chat built in, so you just randomly you're just talking to people, and I would like spawn in the cars and they're playing the whoop whoop, here come the police, and they're all like singing along. And that was like pretty awesome too. I like that. But anyway, the songs are awesome. We were hoping they were going to be a hit, and now that it seems like people dig them, we're looking into ways that we can add more. I can't say we're definitely going to, but we're looking at it.
Did you guys learn anything from car physics with all the Hotwire use? Any tuning in that regard that you
Yeah,
can talk
yeah.
about?
It's all like engineering gobbledygook. It doesn't really, they're working on it.
Is that something for Fred Tuna?
No, Fred Tuna is a game mode. He mostly is our game mode guy.
Yeah.
He basically sets up the game modes and then fixes all the bugs that he creates in his setup game modes. And watches hockey games. He also watches hockey games.
He's got Pornhub on his screen.
No.
No. I'm kidding. All
Can
right.
you give me right now? Can you give me 5 minutes?
We'll let you go, Zach. Thanks very much for coming on.
Sorry, things are happening here.
Yeah, we
Pizza
really
time.
appreciate it. I know you guys are busting your ass there, so we'll let you go enjoy your night. So.
All right. Well, thank you guys for having me on it, and thank you guys for just supporting the game and all the feedback and everything. It's been super helpful. So we're glad
Excited for it.
And we're glad to be part of this community, and hopefully we get to keep being part of this community going forward after this game comes out, because we're all really thrilled to get to work on this. And like I said, even the positive and the negative feedback has been great. Just the passion from the fans has been awesome.
That's awesome. Thank you much for your time. Thank you to Punisher for helping us run this gig. And thanks to everyone for tuning in, and those who hosted the DRMB podcast on your Twitch, etc., etc. And I'll let Chris take it out.
Right on. Thanks, guys. Thanks again, Zach. We wanted to give a special shout out to Operation Supply Drop. We are part of their 8-bit salute starting on May 16th. If you want to join our team, drmb.co/8bit2015. We're going to be hitting up some 24-hour streams, Hardline, everything else. So check that out.